experience. I had none. And there's no question it is complex, but not that complex. It's not, I would consider it easier than tax law. I did a tax law project as this 1L summer and I never wanted to touch it again because it was so complicated. Immigration is hard, but it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of intuitive sense that what you're arguing for, your advocacy and what you need to put together. And there are really wonderful people who help you with it, right? And so you're not expected to suddenly just, know and understand the INA and all of the procedures to get into immigration court. You have mentors everywhere where you can ask every little question, and they're really great about helping you. So even though I knew nothing, I've come to know a little bit more now, and so that's how I supervise a lot of cases. But you don't have to know anything going into it because there's a lot that you can learn, and it's really cool. You just need some people skills.
Yeah, I'll say, I was a corporate transactional and IP lawyer. So not only did I not have any experience in immigration, but I didn't have any litigation experience either. So when I went before the immigration judge, it was kind of my first time representing somebody in court. So with that background, if I can do it, you can do it.
I volunteered a long, long time ago, so I'm sure it's even better now than when I volunteered. But when I did it, it was great. So I actually flew to Harlingen, met with the pro bar team. They put us in a room where they just trained us. They trained us on everything on how do you get to know your client and how do you interview them and things that I hadn't thought about, like the client might not want to tell their entire life story with all of their most sensitive, traumatic experiences in your first meeting. Things that I'm sensitive, but just things I wouldn't have necessarily thought of. And over time, they taught us that. They taught us sort of, what are the legal requirements and how do you prove it up? And, procedurally, what's a master calendar hearing and what's a merits and what do you have to do at both? And then at every stage, there was someone available. And so, if I needed to, if I had a question about how to file something or how to serve DHS or how to do anything, my first case, I didn't know how to do any of it. And so I was on the phone all the time, calling someone at the pro bar number, and, and someone would always answer and would always give me, would give me help. And so, and there's great mentors too. And so I remember the pro bono lawyer who presented with Meredith, Bob Etner, and he said, I could call him, he was like a private lawyer, had really nothing to do other than being another volunteer lawyer. But sometimes I would call him and he would give me ideas. And so that's what's so cool about volunteering in this, is that you have this incredible community of lawyers who care and who have huge hearts. And those are the types of people that you want to mentor you. And so I was a recipient of that. And so I am so happy to share that. So let me be your Bob Etnier. Let me be your Meredith if you take this.
Started with IJP. They provided me with a lot of background information on the client. And then they connected me to IJC, which has the most incredible online tools. I felt supported every step of the way. There were online tutorials that explained every step of the process. It was like everything from like the basics of immigration law to like detailed sample forms, sample filings. And one of my favorite things, just talking, adding on to the whole mentor thing, they have regular office hours. So 3 times a week at a set time, you could just, Zoom in now, right? Because everything's on Zoom. You could Zoom in and ask your questions for to an experienced staff attorney that they had available to answer every single question. Like, I remember the first time I was filling out a form, like I didn't know which box to check about something, and I'm sure she had answered the questions like 50 times before. But she was so gracious and explained, why this was the particular way that I wanted to complete the form. So I would say that, over the 2 months I was handling the case, I was probably on once or twice a week. And I also never felt like I was imposing because it was already built into somebody's schedule. So it's not like I had to reach out and set up something. It was just automatically there for me. And when I got to the point where some of the questions were more challenging around whether or not to file a merits matter, then I got referred to someone else who was an expert in this area at IJP who could help me out with that aspect of it. So I really, felt 100% supported, even at my really basic 101 level of knowledge and expertise.
This is the way I think about it, and I hope this helps you with a construct. There is no question that when you start, and in fact, still to this day, I feel like I have a greater learning curve on my pro bono matters than I do on my regular client matters, that I do, from day in and day out, because it's not, 90% of my time is not spent doing it. So there's always a little bit of a learning curve for there. But at the beginning, it's a huge learning curve that you can feel like overwhelmed. So I can't do it because they just need an immigration lawyer, because an immigration lawyer would do a better job than me. That is a very natural thought process. Here's the reality. They can't afford the immigration lawyer, and the immigration lawyer can't always do it for free because the immigration lawyer has to make a living. And so the only people who can do it for free are people like us who do it pro bono. And that means there's a learning curve. And the way I sort of got myself past that learning curve and to determine, like, it's okay. It's okay. I might make a mistake and it's okay. And the reason it's okay is because if I didn't show up, if I didn't do it, do you know who would be standing next to them? It wouldn't be the seasoned immigration lawyer. It wouldn't be the other person who I think is so much better than me. It would be them alone, not even necessarily speaking the language, and maybe with a translator who doesn't even speak their dialect, knowing nothing about the law, nothing about the immigration process. And so for me, the thought process is, I may not be the best immigration lawyer in the world. I'm probably not, but I am way better than them being alone. And them having me by their side increases their chances of winning by, like, manyfold. I don't even know what it is. You can look at it statistically, but it is huge. Like, their chance of winning, if I am simply showing up in the room, is way higher than if they were alone. And even if I lose, even if I don't do it, the best job that someone else might have done if they had been paid, they have an impression of America that is totally different than standing in a cold courtroom with no one advocating for them. The greatest part about this country is that we have this beautiful system where people can come from all over the world. And if they have a reason to stay and we have an ability to get them to stay, they get to stay. And we are welcoming, and the welcome that they see is us. We are that welcome. And so, for me, it's, is it there a learning curve? Yes. Is it hard? Sure. It's hard. But I know that I know way more than my client from Burundi who has only graduated from high school or may not have even done that, right? And so there's no question the knowledge that you bring, even if it's just, I went to law school or I became accredited and learned this, it's more than they have. And so give it, share it, and be that welcome to America that they need.
I think just from my personal perspective, I heard about pro bono opportunities lots of different times during my career. And I always thought, yeah, but I'm not a veteran lawyer. I'm not an immigration lawyer, so I can't add any value there. And the reality is that when I actually stepped in and tried this work, I was so well supported um, that I shouldn't have been afraid of that barrier. I should have jumped over that barrier a lot sooner than I did. And I guess the other thing I'll say is, these clients don't have a right to representation in immigration court. And so the vast majority of them have absolutely no representation. And what my client had learned about immigration was kind of what he heard around in the detention facility, which were little bits of half truths and weren't really accurate. And he was acting upon those kind of half truths. And so to have someone there who could just explain kind of some of the basics was huge for him. And in the end, when he said to me, "You changed my life," there's nothing more powerful than that.